It's an impressive machine for sure. Definitely has some upgrades versus the previous machine.
But we're going to be running a lot of aerospace parts and doing a lot of crazy cutting. And
all the young people getting into the trade now, you want something that at least resembles a modern computer.
So there's a lot of people that like FANUC, except when they're putting a program into the machine.
Some of the other controls are like Ataris. This is like an Xbox.
All good, man. But I'm excited, man. Like right behind me, we got this big old 8000 coming in here.
Yes,
DVF
sir.
8000. So a lot of people, they saw that we had an 8000 that had an HSK 63, a smaller spindle connection. We're actually journeying into a big aerospace round as far as like parts and actually just like making a lot of different tutorials for our Aerospace Academy, and thus we're gonna be making some big parts, man, and we need a big spindle.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
This bad boy has the HSK 100 on it.
Yeah.
Super excited.
It's an impressive machine for sure. Definitely has some upgrades versus the previous machine.
Yeah, it's got the turning on it. It's got some power on it.
I call it the berry, the beefy boy.
Yeah, super good.
Well, and I believe it's got that big chiller. It tries to cool down all the ball screws and stuff like that, so it really tries to account for the thermal compensation. So this machine is meant to really kind of run, keep things consistent, and make good parts all day.
There's a huge surprise with this machine, and a lot of people are going to be like, what? But this DN Solutions DVF 8000 with turning has the Siemens control.
Oh, yeah.
840D.
Oh,
is in
man.
The house.
Super good. Good. So we got the Siemens control on this thing, and I'm so excited. Smooth.
Oh,
Yes.
it's the best controller on the market as far as I'm concerned.
The 5-axis king.
Yep.
Yeah. And you run. I mean, it's a noticeable difference when you go to the Heller and you run that Siemens. Super good.
It is absolutely hands down my favorite control I've ever used.
Yeah.
And so you'll have to educate me a little bit, Barry. Or Jesse. I've never used a Siemens control. So what is the benefit? What do I get when I move to a Siemens control?
There are literally a ton of benefits, and I say all the time, some of the other controls are like Ataris. This is like an Xbox.
Gotcha.
And it's more like a modern computer. I talked in a few videos before about how just getting a program onto the machine, it's copy, paste, done.
Yeah.
It's more like what you're used to seeing in the 21st century.
Right, yeah. And with
it's
all the young people getting into the trade now, you want something that at least resembles a modern computer.
Relatable to to technology.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Experienced.
It's got a lot more cycles. And the way they lay it out, it might be super complicated, but in the background, but the way they lay it out makes it super simple and easy to understand.
Yeah.
You don't have to know this foreign language that doesn't make sense to you.
Yep.
It's more like what you want to see.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's a faster control too. The look ahead on these things is just stellar. All the cycles are super easy to use. You could just select a line of your program, like say it's a cycle 832 for smoothing, and you just tap the arrow over key, and it gives you all the options that are within that cycle for you to just change, and the layout is super easy. Me and Jesse were talking earlier, and he was like, "How do you change parameters on that thing anyway?" And I was like, "I have no idea because I've never had to do it."
And that's the thing, like what I'm dealing with, or what you normally deal with let's say a FANUC, is you want to change a parameter. Well, you make sure Pee-wee is on, your parameter right enabled, but in order to turn that on, you have to be an MDI. But if you go and change this certain thing, like most of your parameters, you have to be an MDI, and that has to be on. But then there's other things that, if you want to change this, you can't be an MDI. You have to be in edit mode. But then you go back, now you got to be back in MDI, and it's just such a nightmare. It's like, why do I have to jump through all these hoops? It's not the 90s anymore.
That's right.
I think everybody has their favorites. There's a lot of people that like FANUC.
Yep.
Except when they're putting a program into the machine, But not to poke fun at it, but a lot of people like it and they're used to it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that like Siemens, and there's some different controls out there. This one actually has the 840D, but then we're getting another 5-axis that has a Cinemeric 1, which is the even newer one. So super excited about that. And for me, I just think for when you get into 5-axis and the type of tool paths that you're dealing with on a 5-axis, I just don't want to run anything else except Siemens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And something that me and Jesse were actually just talking to them about the other day is that they have 3D cutter comp. And that's something that kind of blew
That
my
works.
mind.
Yeah.
That
That
works
works.
well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of math going on there.
Instead of having to
For
go
sure.
back to the cam every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a game changer. Not only that, but with the Cinemeric 1, you also have Run My Virtual Machine. So then, and we're going to have that on our computers here when we have that machine, and even a little bit before. And it's cool because you can completely prove out your program, and the virtual machine is going to do exactly what the real machine does. It even does material removal. I mean, it is a super cool technology.
And that's the thing, like as technology progresses, as software progresses, parts are getting more complex.
True story.
That's requiring bigger programs, it's requiring more surface milling, which means that your programs are not only going to be bigger, there's going to be a lot more code going on. Maybe more simultaneous has to happen. So your processor on your machine needs to be able to keep up.
Yeah.
And, you don't want it to be trying to surface mill and you need this certain perfect surface finish and your machine is pausing as it's going because the control can't keep up.
Yep.
And the Cinemeric 1 is supposed to be multi-threaded instead of single-threaded, like what you see in the more modern computers now.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be so much faster.
Yeah. A lot of like simultaneous. The programs are monsters.
Oh, yeah. Millions
But
of
even
So
like
many
and
points,
now like just 3D surfacing is so easy, but it is a million lines of code.
Yep.
It is a million lines of code, and it's frustrating when you don't have enough memory.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like I got a program that's 5 megabytes and it won't fit in my control. Like, how does that even happen
in today's
2024?
world, right?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And I really, Siemens has got bigger memory. It's a faster control. Like, to me, everything about it is better. And I should point out that I was a FANUC guy for 23 years. I love FANUC. Like, it's muscle memory. I know exactly where every button is for the most part, and like a lot of the things that would bother somebody that's new to FANUC, like, I don't know what this means. It's like, I don't even read it anymore. I just know where the buttons are.
Yeah, for sure.
But even with that being said, I 100% prefer Siemens. It's night and day.
Well, it says a lot. Like one company I used to work for, there was a couple of programmers in this other department that got, they were 30-year programmers. These were seasoned guys. Their whole career, all they'd ever ran was FANUC. And the company ended up buying a couple of machines that had a robot loader, and the machines had Siemens controls, 840D. They were super mad about it. They were complaining like, why did y'all buy these? We're FANUC guys. All of our machines are FANUC. Why would you do this? Like, disgruntled about it because, nobody wants to change. Nobody wants to learn something different, especially at that stage of your career.
Yeah.
And that's, got some merit to it. But once they started learning it, they had been running it 1 month, and they said they never wanted to go back to FANUC again. Now, that says a lot. This is a 30-year.
And again,
sure.
FANUC is great. I mean, we've been using it for 30 years, and it did what it needed to do. But, you have to keep up with current technology is my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a shout out to everybody out there too. If you guys are purchasing a DN Solutions machine, talk to your sales guy because there are options for Siemens. So you can get a FANUC or you can upgrade to a Siemens control. And they're doing it more and more.
And we actually did a video showing some of the cool features of Siemens and why I love it so much. And you check that out and you'll see a lot of people are scared to switch just because it's something new and different. And you don't know if it's going to do the things that you need it to do. It's going to do them way better than what you're used to.
Yeah. I like when I want to, like, I go on in the Tesla and then I got fingerprints all over the screen, and then I can just go and I can just hit a button and it freezes it, and I can clean it and then like unfreeze it. And I love that. I go to the Heller and I just do the same thing.
Yep, exactly.
Freeze.
And that's kind of feels like the difference too, like between Siemens and FANUC is like the Tesla versus, let's say, my Altima that I tried to put some of those features on. Not saying that bad against FANUC. They can do a lot of the things, but the Siemens feels like it was like the Tesla. It was built from the ground up with all these features there, where The Fanic more feels like it just patched in as it
Yes.
went. So that's kind of the way it
agree.
feels.
Yeah, it seems like, at least, I mean, I don't have any experience with the Siemens, but a Fanic has to be figured out sometimes, right?
Oh,
You do
yeah.
have to figure out what those buttons mean
Yeah.
and where stuff is. And
Should this be a 0 or a 1? I don't know.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And just because I'm a little anal in my own in this shop, you know, it's like it serves as the
I knew that was
perfect
coming.
corner. It's like
knew
the
that was
perfect corner.
Round
so,
the corner, baby.
I know.
yeah.
So
Remember
right when you walk in the shop, you see the LPS,
Mhm.
right? And then basically all the pallet systems is just like a wall, and then boom, then you hit this machine, and this is a nice sharp corner, and like straight down.
Yep. From the first time, like a year ago, we were looking at moving one of the machines that was right here on the corner. He's like, but then my corner will be gone.
I don't think a lot of people
Got to have your staples.
Yeah. I mean, machine placement is super important.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
a lot of people think that you're just taking machines and putting it into a shop and just and that's why I go into some of these big companies and their shops are a mess, and like it's like huge companies and they're a mess. But what happens is they actually start buying machines from a long time ago. They're not replacing them, and then they just keep adding as needed, and the same parts are running, you know, that used to run decades ago, and basically they just keep building and building and building without actually stopping and saying, hey, let's regroup.
For sure.
Let's look at process. Let's look at the roadmap of how parts go through our shop and actually changing it out.
For sure. I think, I'm thinking about that, and it's intentional, right? You have to have intentionality when you're laying out your shop. And so back in the day when we had our shop, we were intentional about where the material came in, where the machining happened, where the inspection happened, where final shipping happened, right? All that matters. And here it's just the same, right? We take people on this experience of the shop, and we are intentional about where we want to take them and how we want to do it.
Yeah.
Super good.
Well, I've seen the same thing. It's like shops plan for where they are now and not plan for where they're going or where they're going to be.
Yep.
So they they don't lay it out.
And me and Jesse both worked together at like a 500,000 square foot facility that was just just like that. So they had put all the machines in this one building, but then they ran out of room. So then they had to start up another machine shop that was like a half mile away. So if you had to take a program from your computer to the farthest machine, you just wasted 30 minutes walking there and back.
And there's some of those variables are the ones that you just don't think about. You think you can just throw more machines in there and just patchwork it when you lose sight of all that wasted time that goes into that,
Absolutely.
non-intentionality. Right?
Yep, and that's two of the biggest forms of waste in lean manufacturing is waiting and wasted motion.
Moving for no reason.
Yep. So you got to make sure that when you do lay out a shop, you do it, with respect to the workflow.
For sure.
That was what was incredible about. We had Toyota manufacturing facility right down the road, and there in Tupelo, Mississippi. It's actually in Blue Springs, and going in there and like they went to this just-in-time system.
Yeah.
So like literally, you don't have a bin full of stuff that you need as if you're the assembler. Like it gets there to your station just as you need it.
Yeah.
And then it go. They got guys that run these carts down, and it was just an amazing lean process, and how they can do that day in and day out and never miss a beat is just amazing.
That's pretty impressive.
But you have to have it laid out perfectly for
sure.
that to work.
Yeah.
It's
It's commitment, right?
It is.
So, but it pays off.
You know what's crazy is that when this 8000 just the other day was sitting outside, anybody who walked in here, if you asked them, how are we getting the machine in place, they would freak out. They would freak out, right? What was awesome is that these halter robotic cells are hooked into pins in the floor, and each one within like a minute can just be moved with a pallet jack of all things.
Yep. That's
and moved right back in place. So we'll show it in another video, but we were able to just, why don't you explain it? You were able to just pick it up and move it.
For sure. It wasn't that bad at all, actually. You would see these big halter robots, and you would think that, like I say, that they're just there fixed forever, but they're not. They're really easy. We came in with the pallet jack. They have locating feet, right on the bottom that are anchored to the floor. We came with the pallet jack. We took a couple bolts off. We picked it up. We pallet jacked it right out, moved it, and we want to bring it back in. We just bring it in. It has these, I'm not sure what the material it is, but it has these like rubber feet that basically fit in this little milled slot in these locating feet. It has a tapered surface. You just kind of line it up, you drop it back in, and boom, puts the robot right back in
perfect.
place. Yeah.
Does something lock it down?
So you do have some bolts that go in through the top that lock it
okay.
to the foot right there. Yeah.
Cool,
But
cool.
they're pretty easy. I mean, it's probably like 6 threads or something that just kind of holds
yeah.
it down in place. So
And
it's easy to take off, easy to move.
And what's crazy is that that was the first time that you ever moved it.
It was.
And at the beginning you didn't even know how to do it.
I did not. Yeah.
And then we just made a
called.
call, and then we talked to Rick.
I
right?
called Rick. Yes, I called Rick. I think I might have woke him
Super
up.
good.
I'm not sure. No, he was doing something. It sounded like I woke him up. So sorry, Ricky. He was up. It was shoveling snow.
Let's
He was
just say
shoveling
it was
snow.
during the day.
Yeah.
No offense, Rick, but you sold your company, made a lot of money. So like, I'm sure he's taking a nap.
And he
I'm
told
just
me
saying.
he was shoveling snow. That's what he said. He said they had 6 inches on the ground.
All right. You
Jeez.
said he sounded like you woke him up, but
Huh.
you know,
He told me he was shoveling snow.
Rick,
That's
we're just
that's
messing
my
with
final
you.
line.
at the end of the day, we needed to bring it in. All of a sudden, panic because riggers are already coming in, and it's like we move it back, and from that point, I can't wait to show the videos, to actually reprogram it, put it into position to actually get it ready for a job. It's literal minutes. No robot is this easy to actually
No, for
program.
sure. Well,
it's
and
incredible.
it is pretty incredible, and the fact that you can take it from machine to machine.
Lathe, mill.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we're going to show. You'll see that in other videos where we take it from the lathe, move it over to the mill, and have it ready to go, just like that. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's
versatility
super
is pretty
cool.
impressive. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the shop is looking good, man.
Oh, it's looking so good, so good.
Yeah, I don't know if we talk about it sometimes, but everyone in this company wears a lot of hats. We all wear a lot of hats. We run multiple machines. We do multiple things. And Travis, good on you, man, for helping out with the machine placement. And you and I have done this for years.
Years, baby.
Years, man.
Yep. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Wouldn't
Super-
have it any
super
other way.
good. Super good.
Yeah.
And he's over here like programming working on the lathe, and he's trying to get that video done and get those tutorials done and all that. He's trying to recreate chatter so he can show how to fix chatter. I was like,
I can help.
I thought Barry didn't
That's
show-
right.
that's what I said.
We have a chatter expert in the house.
I was like, did you call Barry over? Like, did you call
Yeah,
Barry
I mean,
over?
if you want chatter in your part, I will give you some pointers. So.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
man.
sure. For
It's
sure.
weird because Barry said, Travis said, I've got this problem. And Barry said, what's the problem?
What
I don't
problem?
see a problem.
I know. And when I
Custom
went
knurl,
when I went to
custom
the
knurl.
lathe, it sounded like chatter. So good
Yeah.
job, man.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not something that we do.
No.
I didn't even know if you know how to do that.
Yeah, we can recreate the problem.
That's why it's important to bring in new talent.
Yeah,
I'll show you something you ain't never
yeah.
seen
Show you
before.
problems you've never had to deal with.
So good, so good. And but yeah, man, the shop is looking absolutely amazing. This whole place right here just looks so good. The minks, ooh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
everything's looking good. I can't wait. A lot of people will see that we're gonna have a bombastic open house on May 2nd and May 3rd, and we're gonna actually have signups for that, so people can actually come from wherever, and it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have a chef. We're gonna have food.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
Oh,
be
it's
You're gonna come
fantastic.
through. We're gonna have we'll be machining different parts on all the different machines and stuff. Kennametal will have the truck over here, so we'll have like big exhibit of Kennametal tools, and a lot of our partners will be here and
Nice.
stuff. So it's gonna be sick. It's like IMTS, crazy, but we're actually running crazy parts. So you can actually learn something.
Oh, we're not going to be cutting air like at IMTS?
You
It's
had
gonna be
me at
good, man.
food.
Way better.
I was gonna say,
Way better.
and you get to
In
hang out here in
Texas.
Texas. That's right, in Texas.
Yeah, super good.
And talking about how good the shop looks now, I always thought it was cool how anybody that sets foot in this facility, from an 18-wheeler driver to the UPS guy, they're all just blown away, and
Mhm.
they're like, "Wow, what is this place?"
They're like, is
That
this
is
a
every
machine
time.
shop or a man cave?
Yeah.
They
Well,
do
you know-
always ask, "What do you do here?"
Yeah. Well, Tony McLean from Kennametal was here today, and he's like, "Yeah, I was here. Maybe it was a year ago or a little over a year ago." And I was like, "Oh, it's a whole different place now.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
look around; it's a completely different."
I mean,
place.
even from 6 months ago, right? You would
Yeah.
can barely recognize this
Oh,
place.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, you know what's awesome is that there's a pool table right there on the other side of the.
That is awesome.
And a lot of
Yes,
people
there
like
is.
they tripped out like, you're gonna buy a pool table, but you know what I love is that when I actually leave an hour after the company closes, the guys are still here. You guys, Barry's over here, you know, practicing up so he can try to beat me, you know. But
Yeah.
he's over here, like the guys are over here playing, and I just love that the employees love to stay here and actually hang out. That's
Yeah.
what we're trying to create.
I was laughing today at lunch because Trevor was saying how he's saving so much money now on going out to eat lunch because he just wants to play pool instead. So more money in his pocket.
Yeah.
I'm going to start fishing.
Thank you, Emily. Or you're welcome, Emily. Is that what we said?
This will be the first place I've ever got to catch saltwater fish and not have to go to the ocean.
Ooh. Got
Oh,
the
man.
saltwater reef tank placed. Ever since I came from Hawaii when I was 19 years old in the bay, I just got into saltwater fish tanks, and I've had one ever since. And only when we came to Texas, we had to break down one
Yep.
down at the shop in California, and I'm excited. We got a beautiful one now.
It's a
man.
good looking tank.
Yeah.
It is,
I
yeah.
can't wait
Super
to put
good.
a catfish in there. It's just going to be awesome.
I can't wait for
I
that
haven't got
either. Yeah.
I haven't been brave enough to do
Yeah.
it yet.
He had such a great career. Into
Yeah, you
the
can crash
catfish.
it. You can crash a machine, and I'm gonna be like, chill. Like,
Yeah.
not that it's not important, but I'm like the roof can be burning down, and I'm just gonna be like cool under pressure, man. But
Drop a catfish in
yeah,
that
you
tank.
can drop the catfish in a saltwater tank.
People's going to be
we're gonna
commenting,
have problems.
what happened to Jesse on there? I ain't seen him on there a while.
Your teeth are really gonna look like Bo No Go. They're like,
Oh,
he's
man.
threatening him. I heard him. It's all good, man. But hey, getting back to the shop is looking beautiful. The team is stacked. It's just a pleasure to be here to work with you guys and all of it. But
100%.
it is super important to how you actually place machines, how you place everything. When we were in California and we had our shop management system, it's like I strategically, when you walked out of the office area and you came into the shop, right when you walked out, we had a desk right there, we had the computer, we had the scanner, so that you could actually have, like, you know, the shop management, the routers, the barcodes, so you could be like scanning everything, boom, 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 right through.
For sure.
And it was all strategic. It was like as soon as you walk a customer through, right there, I could just explain the entire process, what the router was, how it went through the shop, and it was genius because the moment they walked in the shop, they knew these guys are legit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Super good. So
Yeah, and you got to think too. You know, as you lay out a shop, you want your shop floor to kind of reflect the process, right? So you
Absolutely.
have material coming in the door, then naturally it's going to probably go through the saw. So you have your saw there, and then you have your mills, your lathes, your inspection, and maybe like a cleaning station before inspection, because I know how much Travis likes when I bring him parts covered in coolant.
yeah,
my
kinda
favorite.
Like, it's kind of like looking at, you know, coming in a door. But if you had like a long building, it would be almost perfect if you had like the saw and material and everything here, and then out and then shipping
Right.
on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just goes from one side, boom, all the way through.
Yep.
And then you have in-process inspection throughout. You have different stations, and then your main inspection would be in a center location that was like you could get to from everywhere, and then but maybe more towards like the shipping side, you know.
Yep.
Yep.
Super
No,
good.
for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and unfortunately, most shops aren't laid out like a big long rectangle, so you got to figure out ways to make it work like that straight line
Yeah.
in a different shaped facility.
Yeah, you have to be creative and stuff like that. And some might be trial and error, right? So, I mean, I think a big part of shop improvement is being able to collect that data, too. Sometimes you may not get it right the first time. And I think
Yeah.
it's important to be open to change and to be able to collect that data, see what the results are, and be able to change if you have to, and continuously improve.
Yeah,
That's the game,
absolutely.
continuous improvement, right?
Yeah, but
You
it's
know,
true.
so-
Like I've seen shops, like your bigger shops. I've seen like what you're saying. They come in from one door, they go through the process and out the other side.
Mhm.
But then your smaller shops, I've seen it to where it might come in and they have two cells, and it comes in from here, but it does a big loop, but it still stays in that projection. It never backtracks. your process goes through the loop and then comes back, through the other side.
Yeah.
But
Just a
however it needs to go, it needs to stay in that projection.
Well, and like you think about it, you have shop layout, and we talk about equipment a lot. Where is the equipment? But you can kind of have a process or a product layout too. What parts you put on what machines and how you organize that product to flow through your shop, I think, can make a big difference too.
Absolutely.
I know you guys have worked at some monster companies and stuff, and one thing that we don't talk about that much is shop management, routers and stuff, but even job boxes, as far as saving all the tools, jaws, anything related to that part. I imagine you guys would have tombstones that would be inside the machine, that would be dedicated and all that. How did you guys manage all that?
Well, I've worked at places that did a lot of different things. So there was a place in Houston I worked at that did the job box thing. So if there was special tooling that, if you have to buy a specially sized drill or something, you don't want to just see that drill end up in somebody's roll around toolbox. So they would take the special tooling, put it in a box with the fixtures, and then they would take it to the tool crib where we had a tool attendant who kept track of all that and kept it all organized. And then we worked at other places where they really didn't do much of that. Like some of the places that me and you worked together, there was nothing saved except for maybe the fixturing. Fixturing was set to the side, but all tooling just went right back to the tool crib when you were done with it.
Yeah, it works when you have all kind of standardized tooling and you're using just end mills and drills and basic things and stuff. But when you have special key cutters and form tools and different things like that, if you have an attendant, then it works out perfect because they can actually just list it, sign it, put it into place, be able to grab it, special.
And that's actually one of the things I think a lot of shops are lacking is a good, knowledgeable tool crib attendant is super important because
so true.
I've worked at a lot of places where you break down all your tooling, set it on the table, it all ends up in the drawer, and now you've got thousands and thousands of dollars of tooling just, hidden where nobody else can find it. And if you have a tool crib attendant that you take everything back to, they can inspect every end mill, make sure that it's still good. They can put it back into circulation. It's super important to keeping track of your tooling in your facility.
The best place that I'd ever worked far as organization like that was Engineered Medical Systems in Bartlett, Tennessee, which is right out of Memphis. That company was so on point with how they managed all of that. So they had boxes with each parts, the routers and everything that staged at the lathe department had a staging area, the mill department had a staging area, every department had a staging area, including quality, so it just made its way through the shop. But when it come to tools and stuff, each lathe had its own toolbox, table, your work table, and each box had maybe live tooling, stuff like that was pertaining to that machine or that cell. So did the mills, had one toolbox, all your collets, everything that you needed for that cell would be either at each machine or one toolbox for the station, depending on how many you needed, But they also had, when it come to tools, they had a tool crib that was manned by, they actually had two people, but one was over it, and he was a bulldog, man.
That's what you want.
Yeah, he was a bulldog. He kept that stuff, and if you walked in, because another thing that was really nice is each job had a one-page setup sheet, and the way they did their tools is each tool, whether it be an insert, end mill, or whatever, had its own proprietary code. So it'd be E whatever number. So when you got a setup sheet, it was labeled that instead of half-inch end mill, this, blah, 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 that. I don't have to worry about all that. I know that this number, when I find it in the Lista cabinet, all of our tools is in Lista cabinets. I open that up because it had a location on there too, where to find the tool. You open that up, bam, it's right there. And when you got a tool, you wrote up here and you signed it out. I got this so he could keep up with inventory. Yeah. So that was a big thing too. So we was always stocked with tools. And even we'd used a lot of what Donnie would call a shadow graph. We used those a lot, for a lot of forms and stuff. So we had custom, what do you call it? My mind is blanked.
The overlays?
The overlays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
For a comparator?
Yeah, the comparators. So we had overlays that was tied to certain jobs. We had cabinets, or if we made our own gauges to check certain things, We assigned that with a number. It got checked by quality. It was signed off on. And then when you assign it a number, it went into a cabinet that was locked. So we knew those wasn't roaming around.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, like everything was organized, and it made it so much faster. You never, ever was looking for stuff.
And that changes the whole workday. Changes
Oh, yeah.
everything.
It does.
Makes everything so
100%.
much smoother.
And what's nice too is when you have that level of organization and you have tool crib attendants and you know what jobs are coming down the line, that tool crib attendant can stage the tooling for the next job.
100%.
So like as soon as I finish running a mill job, I have a cart sitting right there at my machine that's got all the tooling already on it for my next job, all the routing, all the raw material, and I'm ready to roll. I don't have to go walk for 30 minutes and go find a hole.
Collect 15
So
different
that's something
tools.
they kind of did. They had their own saw guys. So when you walked up to grab a bucket that had the router, what job it was, what machine it goes on next, it already had the material in there already sawed, ready for to go. So you just grab it, you go to the computer, you find the job, and print out the setup sheet. Once you do, it's just, okay, here's the setup sheet. Here's all the tools I need. I go to the tool crib, pull them, bam, you're there and you're off to the races. It was just super efficient.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of companies that don't have
For sure.
attendants,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh.
You know,
I've worked
I
with
mean,
plenty.
yeah, and therefore, you know, I used to be this. I used to always tell the guys, like, they're finishing jobs or whatever, and they're like standing at the machine or something. I'm like, hey, do you got your box for them? What's the next part that you're running? You know what I mean? Like, what is the next part you're doing? Does it have a job box? Does it have this? Get everything stationed, and if you got time, go ahead and like set everything up, get it ready, you know.
Absolutely.
So
No, for sure. I mean, I think you got to take in perspective where you're at, right? Some shops are small, right? And you're running a little 10-man crew. A lot of people aren't going to be able to afford a tool crib guy. And you're
Right.
going to have to adapt, right? You
Yep.
have to know where you are and institute policies that work with the peeps you got.
you can
know,
still be
so-
incredibly organized. You can
100%.
still have like toolboxes. You can still have specialty tools, and you can still organize everything. You can still have a quality manual. You can still have the process and have everything dialed and start, like you said, with the shop. You know, just start small. You know, and just make your flow of how the material goes to the finished parts and gets shipped out and inspected and all that. But it's like, yeah, you just got to teach your guys to multitask and to actually, you know, be able to run things and set up, get ready for things that are
For sure.
coming, you know.
I think that
Yeah.
the standard remains the same, whether you have the 10 guys or 100 guys, you know, whether you have a tool shop guy or not. That standard of organization,
Yep.
putting things where they want, being proactive, being intentional about what you do, that's really where it comes from. It comes
Yep.
from the standard.
And with smaller shops, a big thing to reach that level of organization is accountability for everybody on the shop floor.
Yeah.
And I've worked at some small shops where, you know, when I started there, I asked where the end mills were, and they just pointed me to this cabinet, and it was all regrinds, none of them in containers, just all bouncing around in the same drawer. All their lathe inserts were in a Nike shoe box.
Oh my gosh.
And it just was not ideal.
Yeah.
But
It's one word for it.
yeah, but then I've worked at shops like that where they started to try to improve, and they would like one of the first things they did was got rid of every single drawer that existed in the facility,
Yeah.
so nobody could stash stuff anymore. It was either on top of your table, and then they actually made it to where the tables were all tilted, so you couldn't just lay end mills all over the table, or they would just roll right off. So they took it pretty serious.
That's some serious
And that's
business right there.
that's such a good point too,
Yeah.
because it's a cultural thing, right?
100%.
Like
Yep, so
you can
true.
have the best process in the world if you
Yeah.
want. You could label all your tools. You can have a place, but if you don't have the people that's actually performing that
For sure.
duty,
Yeah.
then it's going to fall apart.
Yep.
And you've got to have somebody policing that. Luckily, we've got a cop here.
That's awesome. I think right in line with tooling, when you have special inspection processes, you know, in place and stuff, and different gauges and special gauges and
Yep.
stuff, a lot of times you have to like do the same thing, prepare for that, get that in line.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can prep everywhere, right? I mean, you can prep for the machining machining portion. You can prep for the inspection portion. You can prep for the shipping portion, right? I think like Jesse said, it's culture. It starts with culture. It starts with that mindset and stuff like that, and then process follows that, and you have execution, So I think you have culture, process, execution.
Yep.
And it's cool too that we've all seen so much throughout our career that we took the best of everything that we ever saw and put it all into this one facility here.
Oh, 100%.
Like when I walk into quality and I ask you for a ring gauge or something, you go into your nice little drawer and they're all perfectly organized and beautiful.
No other way for it to be, Barry.
Yeah,
no other way.
And if I need an end mill, I go straight to the location that we have online where it says it should be, and we know how many there are and what they are. It's a beautiful place to be.
Oh, sure. Man. And we still have some crazy inspection tools, some thread gauges with, double leads and different things. Just where like space companies just invented these crazy threads and stuff. And then, those used to be in a special place for special jobs that exact part, because we actually went out and purchased those inspection tools special for this, right?
Yeah, I know for sure. They're segregated even to this day. They're still in their own drawer.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Oh, man. So, Keith, usually sitting at this table.
Yeah, where's he at?
Right?
I'm doing my best, Keith, today.
You're not talking enough.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Smokes.
He's usually here, but right now he's like looking at a computer and he's just like because we're a machine distributor now.
That's right.
We distribute machines, and it's an incredible thing. And that's how we're going to actually fund free education and just take everything to the highest level. And we came out and we talked about it. We've been putting videos out, and we have so many people right now wanting quotes and purchasing machines, and it's incredible.
It's exciting times. It really is.
It's an incredible thing. It's another level to the game.
Oh, yep.
And
Good
super
call.
good, man.
Yeah.
Super good. You guys ready? I mean, it's like Friday right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Friday every day.
Is
For
it
one
Black
of
Friday
us.
too?
I know, man. Super good. But anyway, love you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for everything. And shop is looking absolutely fabulous.
So good. It really
Great
is.
job.
It
Great
needs
job,
more
guys.
chips.
Boom. We are out.
All right.
Boom.
Peace.